Hey, 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 hey. Good evening, everybody. This is Lola Moore Johnston, and I am joining you for Bloom Thursdays. I hope you all are doing well, and I'd love to hear where you are watching from. So, won't you in the chat go ahead and type in where you are watching from? And if you need to, go ahead and tag a friend, invite them to Bloom Thursdays. You Stacy, it says, give me about 5 minutes. I have a chapter to read. Go ahead and finish up that chapter. Oh man, we are talking here about, oh man, this book that we have been reading, and I'm telling you, it has been amazing. Amazing. And so I hope that you've enjoyed it as well. As you come in, and thank you so much for watching. I am on location tonight. You'll see behind me, this city up here is Nashville, Tennessee. And we are enjoying our time here visiting with friends and family. But I certainly wanted to continue to connect with you and stay consistent. And so welcome, 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 welcome. Here we go. We have Rainham. Man, those Massachusetts cities are so British. Raynham, Massachusetts. Washington, D.C., of course. Kansas City, how you doing? Plantation, Florida. Hello from the Bahamas. Hello to you. Nassau in the house. Ridgeland, Mississippi. New York, the Bronx. Boogie Down. We got East Point, Georgia. And we want to thank you all. I see already in the chat that you have enjoyed the book. So I'm glad. I thought it would be really good for you. I'm finishing up a piece of ginger candy and it's just like not going away. So don't mind me as I finish that. So come on in, Madison, Mississippi. Continue to let me know where you are watching from. We want to hear from you. Where you watching from? Oh, McDonough, Georgia. Hello, good evening, good evening. And I want to thank you guys for joining me. This is our fourth episode, our fourth week being together, challenging myself because I have not wanted to do this or be on a platform like this on a consistent basis. And so I just thank you all for consistently being with me. I am trying to get to 500 YouTube subscribers. I think I'm pretty close. And so I want to say, if you want to jump off of here and go to our YouTube channel, if you're watching on YouTube, a couple of you are, make sure you subscribe. Help me to get to those 500 subscribers tonight. That'll be a nice thing to celebrate. I'm telling you. Hello, Miss Melissa Jakes. Won't y'all help me to congratulate Melissa? She just had a new yummy little baby boy. So congratulations, Melissa. Thank you so much for coming in. We know you have a lot of work to do. She is also a wonderful event planner. And so if you need an event plan, you're trying to organize some stuff, then Miss Melissa Jakes is your person. Rescue Event Planning is her company. And you will not be disappointed by her. So that's Melissa Jakes. Make sure that you check her out, Rescue Event Planning. Hey, Nashville, I am in your area. So thank you so much for watching. And again, let's welcome and congratulate Miss Melissa on that yummy baby boy. He might be a week old now, if that. So congratulations to you. I want to make sure that I share with you before we jump in a couple of things. As you know, every Thursday we are here together at 8 o'clock. And so I appreciate your help in sharing that information, that at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central Standard, 5 Pacific, we have Bloom Thursdays. And so we invite you to get a couple of your girlfriends, your homies on the line. We are learning how to be about our Father's business, to be intensely purposeful and action oriented. And so we want to make sure that you are joining us for that. Also, On this Sunday, we are starting our July section of the Bloom Everywhere 14-Day Purpose Project. Woo! So all of my bloomers, if you'll just let us know in the chat, all of my bloomers, say, hey, I am a bloomer. Bloomer here. We got all our bloomers in the chat. Make sure that you make yourself known. We have a wonderful community and several other young people. I guess it's not wrong to call them young people, but several other people who have joined us for our July cohort starting July the 12th. If you want to be a part of the Purpose Project, you can join us by going to bloomwithlola.com. All of the information and registration details are there. Okay, so let's get into this book. We're talking about success from the inside out, and I've heard from the comments that it evoked some it evoked some emotions for some of us, that it took us back, that it helped us get our stuff together. And I would love in the comments to hear what it is that you have seen, heard, what it is that connected with you. I'm going to play the preview first so that you can go ahead and get your book out. I'm going to try to break this up into a couple of pieces because there's a lot that we can bring out of this book. So let's play the preview here. Ms. Nona Jones, her book, produced by Zondervan, Success from the Inside Out, is what we're talking about on tonight. We're going to get all this good tea in here tonight. Here we go.
I wrote the book Success from the Inside Out because as a survivor of childhood physical and sexual abuse, I was told for so many years that I didn't matter and I didn't have value. And the favor of God was on my life, and He took me to places I would have never imagined in my career. But the brokenness of my past followed me with every successive promotion until I discovered one day that until you forgive the people who broke you, you will never truly understand what it means to be successful. You see, there is a success that empties, and then there is a success that fills. And the only way that you can have a success that fills you is when you remember that God created you with purpose, no matter what title you wear, no matter what car you drive. And I hope that you will enjoy this book because it truly is my story of faith, forgiveness, and redemption. God has a purpose and a plan for your life, and I'm a testimony to that fact.
Okay, so success from the inside out. So what were your initial takeaways and how did you feel about the book? Did you enjoy the book? Was the book good for you? Was it challenging for you? What was your initial takeaways from the book? And I'll share with you my initial takeaways. I heard about Nona Jones really in a casual way. I have a friend who went to the University of Florida and was telling me about his friend Nona. And in talking about his friend Nona, he shared, that she was a preacher and all of these things. Well, I happened to see her on TBN where there was an interview about women in ministry. And in that interview, she announced that she had become the director for faith initiatives at Facebook. And I said, oh my goodness. So she was living in Florida still, co-pastor with her husband at a church there in Gainesville, but also simultaneously watching or working as the director for faith partnerships at Facebook. So after that, I think I might have looked at her Instagram page and saw that she had a book and it was called Success from the Inside Out. So I decided to go and get it. I was not expecting what I got. Okay. I was not expecting it. I saw a couple of interviews where she did share about her, she shared about her journey as a childhood survivor of sexual abuse, and I'm like, whoa, okay. And it's not always routine for people in those types of positions, with those types of powerful positions, to be transparent about who they are and what it is that they have experienced. And so I was, as some people have said in the comments, I was really struck by her transparency just right off the bat. I think she did a great job of sharing. And I've seen in other places where when people start to share that story, that story of surviving sexual abuse becomes the main thing. And so once she started to share that, then I was, looking at the book called Success from the Inside Out, and I was wondering how successful she would be at merging her story with success principles. And I think she actually did a great job. She is an excellent writer. And for you who have read, I'm looking here. Somebody said I couldn't put it down towards the last half because I learned so much about stepping out on faith and allowing God to lead. Absolutely. God truly kept her in all she experienced and used her to glorify him. Absolutely. Loved her transparency. She was very transparent. Her book was so raw, Angel says, and it's real crazy. I connected with her book on so many levels. I can't wait to finish it. Barbara Barnes says the book brought out so much of my past in which I need all of the advice she was given to help me and my siblings navigate even now. It's a healing process. Yes. Someone said that they saw her on another program. I think she's a really great leader, a really great writer. And so I want to split this up because her book is written in multiple sections. She has the sections, part 1, which is Beyond Surviving, and then part 2 is the Blueprint for Success. And she actually does a really good job on the first side talking about how she survived. And by survived, I think she's talking about how she was able to come out of it with a sense of purpose, come out of it and be successful and not become victimized by her background and by what happened. I mean, interesting story. So I want to talk about part 1 tonight, and then we'll talk about parts 2 and 3 next week. So tonight we're going to talk about this Beyond Surviving part. So I'm looking here, and I'm actually going to flip through this screen with you. So you'll be flipping through the book with me. But I wanted to do this together. You'll see there's these multiple sides or sections of this book that she has. So in the beginning, she starts to talk about her early childhood. And she shares that in her early childhood that she is raised by a mother who had her as a part of a marriage. Her mother had been married early at something like 15, and her mother was also a part of a very large family, something like 12 children, where they're all in like a 2-bedroom home. And her mother, because she saw her own mother, this is Nona's grandmother, be brutally beaten and abused, and economically unable to emancipate herself. Her mother is stuck in a situation where she is unable to leave. Okay. And so her mother then, who is wild and has fits of rage, which mirror the abusive father, which is, I mean, these family dynamics are something, right? So her mother, Nona's mother, has these fits of rage that mirror her abusive father. The abusive father is also one who had his own identity issues. He had a slight malfiguration, a leg that's shorter than the other one. And because of his insecurity, being a darker skinned man with a light skinned wife who was very beautiful, or excuse me, I'm on the wrong side, with this grandfather who was made to work and all of these things, right? He takes his rage out on the grandmother. Like I said, I went between stories. I'm sorry about that. Grandfather, grandmother in an abusive relationship. Okay. Grandmother, grandfather have 12 children. Grandfather does not want to financially contribute to the family, and so grandmother is stuck trying to scrape and make do for these children when grandfather is kind of, just putting a some kind of roof over their head and providing minimally, and then kind of beating the grandmother for his rage at his situation. Nona's mother leaves that situation early and is married to a man something like 10 years older than her at 15 years old. She's married at 15, leaves the house, but has not resolved any of her issues, has not resolved anything. So she brings the same anger and rage into her marriage that she had while she's with her siblings. She would go off and was abusive and violent to her siblings. When things got tense, she would just up and leave and be away for time. And same thing happened in her marriage, where she goes into the marriage, and anytime she becomes angry, anytime her husband says something to push a button for her, she goes off, right? So her Nona's father feels like, because this girl is beautiful, she's light skinned, she is, she has this personality about her. He feels that he is privileged to be with her, and he becomes an enabler for her, never challenging her in their marriage. She's going off for days, she's going off for weeks, she's probably with people during that time. And all of this happens because nobody in the family has resolved any of the issues, which for me helps me to understand, or helps me to see the critical reality that unless I deal with my issues, unless I face my issues head on, they will travel with me. I can escape a person, I can escape a job, I can escape a church, but I cannot escape myself. And so I must identify and deal with my issues if things will get better for me. I'm not sure if that came out for you, but generationally, these issues continue to go on, and they create the context where Nona is born, and her mother, who now becomes widowed, is now in a situation where she is forced to take care of her child, Nona. Many of us find ourselves in places where we are stagnant. We find ourselves going around in circles because we have refused to deal with our issues. We have never looked our issues head on. We have never dealt with our issues head on. We have never been in a situation where we have just sat with ourselves in the uncomfortable space with the tough conversations and just dealt with it. And this story from the beginning showed me that if I don't deal with my issues, they will always plague me. Did that come out for anybody else? I mean, generationally, these rages, generational anger, generational avoidance, all come together in this home where Nona Jones is being raised, and create these challenges where now she and her mother are unable to really connect with one another. And that happens for us when we don't deal with our issues. You have to face it head on. You have to tell the story. Somehow Nona went back and got the information from her family members to be able to tell the story. And we have to do the same thing. Asking questions about our parents, about our grandparents, having those uncomfortable conversations sometimes to figure out why is it that we're wired the way we are. And I can speak about the Black community that sometimes across the diaspora will silence children's questions when they start to ask things. Well, why is this way? And why don't you talk to this person? And why is it that we're not connected with our uncles and our aunts? What happened? And parents will oftentimes tell you, well, just that's not a child's place. At least they used to in the 1900s. I don't know how y'all parenting in the 2000s, but in the 1900s, they used to say, that's not your business. That's not, stay in a child's place. And what happens is, because we have not been given that information, then we are kind of forced to circle around the same building in our lives, and we repeat the same things. And some of us have tried to escape situations and wind up marrying people that mirror the same emotional, mental, and psychological status as the parents and the siblings that we tried to escape. I mean, it's really interesting, because we have, it said, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And what happens is, because we have not been given the gift of our history, because we have not been told the story, because we don't know the story, then we find ourselves in places where we repeat it. So Nona begins this first chapter, and she starts talking about, because what happened with her parents, her grandparents. She is now a part of a family where her mother is widowed, and her mother, who is a single mom, moves or allows a man who is also disabled to move into the home. And she let him move in with hopes that they could pool their finances in order to be able to be in a better financial position. Soon learned that the finances that he was bringing were not sufficient. And so they are consistently arguing, going back and forth. But I asked myself on several occasions, if he's not contributing to this house, this person who is beautiful, this person who is, a worker, this person who has, maintained some type of life for herself, why didn't she just kick him out and move forward? Why would she actually decide to continue on with this man? We learned the gentleman is white. Again, he is disabled. He's drawing a disability check, and she has latched on to him, the expectation that he will make her secure, when the whole time she is actually the person who is securing the finances and the home for this family. She has latched herself onto him, and I believe that it is because she was trying to meet something a lot deeper and a lot more personal than her needing finances. She is actually trying to connect, I believe, with someone who reminds her of her past. She's trying to connect with someone who she believes will make her mental and psychological life better, but she has told herself that she's looking for a financial hookup. And I think that there's a craziness that many of us have, where we will assign these expectations to people who from the very beginning have demonstrated to us that they are unable to meet those expectations. Like, why would you go to someone who is disabled for financial security? Why would you do that? Why would you ever stake, as an able-bodied individual, your expectation to be stable on someone who can't even secure their own stability, who is dependent on a system in order to pay them? And I believe that that is because, as KK says in the comments, low self-esteem causes us to have crazy eyesight. Our eyesight doesn't work when we have low self-esteem. We start to heap on all of these expectations onto systems, onto people, onto relationships that have proven from the beginning that they cannot meet our needs. And so we all, I think, have to do an audit of our relationships. Look, it causes us, this low self-esteem, to start looking at things and to expect from them things that they cannot do. And that, I mean, it's a sign of low self-esteem. Somebody says it makes sense. Is what I make it make sense is what I was thinking. So the thing is, for her, she's saying to herself a couple of things. Number one, she's believing that no one who was actually financially stable would want her. She's looking at her situation. She has a daughter who she does not want. And that's a piece that comes out too, that she never wanted to have children. Nona's mother never wanted to have children because she associated having children with the lack of mobility that her mother had. She assigned in her mind, said, the reason why my mother could not do better for herself is because she had children, which again, that is erroneous. Her mother was unable to do what she needed to do to be mobile because she had 12 children. It's because she had an abusive husband. If she didn't have 12 children, if her husband was supportive, her mama would have been fine. But she had 12 kids. She had an abusive husband. But Nona's mother, not having made the connections properly in her mind, has said if she had any children, that there would be a problem. And so she creates an issue for herself. Y'all hear me tonight? She creates an issue for herself. How you doing, Almedia? Excuse me, Miss Margaret. She creates an issue for herself, and she tells herself that because she has a child, that now she is in a disadvantaged position. Because she has a child, she's in a disadvantaged position. This is not necessarily true. There are people all over this planet who have had children as a single parent and who have not had to sacrifice their children in order to have welfare. They didn't need to sacrifice their children in order to be okay, because they had in their mindset a healthy perspective that they were going to move forward without their children being harmed. Nona's mother created this issue in her mind. And so the question I want to ask for you as we move forward is, what are the lies that you have told yourself about your situation? What are the fake monsters under your bed and in your closet that have caused you to believe that you are limited in ways that are not true? What are the lies that you have told or are telling yourself? Let me write it down so you can remember these. What are the lies that you've told yourself? Can I ask you, or can I add some that I hear from y'all? I'm too old. I don't have enough education. I don't make enough money. I'm not pretty enough. I don't have enough support. I didn't go to the right school. I didn't grow up in the right town. All of those are lies. And so here it is. When we tell ourselves that we are limited by our circumstance, when we tell ourselves that we are limited by our finances, when we tell ourselves, I'm not supposed to be here, these are lies that we told to ourselves that make our situation more difficult than it has to be. My relational status, Miss Sharice, causes me not to be able to move forward. How many times has Donald Trump been divorced? You know what I'm saying? How many times? Elizabeth Taylor, how many marriages did she have? One of the richest ladies, but there's somebody who is killing the game with what you believe is a limitation. Killing the game. So we sometimes, as we see in this book, tell ourselves lies. And sometimes we're rehearsing the lies that have been told to us. Let's tell the truth. Sometimes our parents, our family members have said your skin color, the way your hair is, your height, the way that you speak. Why do you speak like that? All of these things are created now, recreated in our own minds, and they create false limitations that we have allowed to actually make the space that we inhabit smaller. I used to believe that I could not be successful because of the schools that I chose to attend. Here it is, those who are Seventh-day Adventists who might be watching, I didn't go to Oakwood. And so because I didn't go to Oakwood, I didn't think I would get a job in ministry. Because I didn't go to Oakwood, I wasn't going to have friends in ministry. There was only going to be so much that I could do in ministry because I didn't go to Oakwood. But you know what? There are people now who swear I went to Oakwood. You did go. I said, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. You were in my class. No, no, I was not. But look, when you are successful at what you do, people are filling the blanks for you. There's never a time that I've told people I went to Oakwood. People swear I do now because I'm successful. And this is the thing. You have to learn how to play your cards. Play your hands, no matter what it is. If you are telling yourself you are limited by the hand that you are dealt, I promise you there's somebody else who would pray for the hand that you have. So let me see these little narratives in here. Somebody says, I'm too busy. I don't have the time. Somebody else says that I tell myself to sit down and be quiet. Yep, it's the truth. And so we repeat these lies, we repeat these limitations that other people have given to us and have set before us, and becomes an issue. Okay, so this man, Lee, who's in the house, is Chester the molester. He been trying Nona since she was 5, and there's a pretty heart-wrenching story that is told of how when she was 5, this man who had been grooming her mother's boyfriend, eventually had an opportunity because the mother left this girl alone with this man as she went on a trip. Can I talk to y'all tonight? I don't know your personal situation. Can I talk to you tonight? Please stop this. I know you don't have a babysitter. It's tough to go to work and you just want to get out of the house and stuff. But there have been so many heinous crimes that have been committed against children because somebody just wanted to get out and have some breath. They just wanted a little time to themselves. Please, y'all, please. These boyfriends, these all this stuff. Come on, y'all. Your little girls, your little boys. Just, please don't do that. And please, y'all, just take the time. Take the time. Talk to your kids when you bring a new person around, male or female. Just openly talk to your children. And if that child feels uncomfortable with that adult, sacrifice the relationship. Just let them go. Come on, y'all. Come on, please. Most crimes against children are committed by people who are friends of the family. It's not strangers that's sneaking in the windows doing the majority of this stuff. It's people who we have asked to come into our homes. And we have to use discernment. We can't allow our fatigue to cause us to open up the gates to people who are wolves and predators. Please. This story is just terrible. She's going to her sister's funeral and she is determined that she's going to go. She's going to leave this child in the house with this boyfriend. She has not asked her child if she feels comfortable. She has not even been paying attention to the way that he has interacted with her child. She has not asked any questions. And the thing is that it creates a place where a predator has a field day with her child. Come on, y'all. Please be more vigilant. I'm talking about your siblings. I'm talking about your brothers and sisters around your kids. I'm talking about your parents around your kids. I'm talking about your pastor, the Pathfinder leader at the church. You need to be asking questions. How do you feel about this person? What's going on? And if your child, if there's even a hint of discomfort, cut that relationship off. This is just, when I was reading it, I'm like, man. But I realized that the mother was overwhelmed. She put it in her mind that this is what she was going to do. And she went on and left that child there and never even asked the child how it went. She never asked the child what happened when they were together. Nothing. So all of this stuff is just terrible. It's just terrible. Oh, that part hurt me. It hurt my heart. And I just, as this is my platform, I just wanted to use the opportunity to say, please, y'all, please be vigilant about who you leave your children with, and how it is that you allow your children to be handled, asking questions about your child, asking questions about all of that. So anyway, all of that being said, eventually Nona tells her mother that this is what happened after her mother goes to this funeral. After something like 2 or 3 years of this going on, she finally tells or I think it's a year or so of it going on. She tells her mother. Mother goes off. We're happy. Mother has a whole little baseball game with Lee. Takes a bat and whoops his tail. I'm saying yes, 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 yes. Kicks Lee out, but she does not tend to the emotional needs of Nona. And just kind of shrugs it off, says it happens. And that mentality, her wanting to appease herself, really is what I think. Her wanting to appease herself by saying that this is not something that was a big deal, actually created the opportunity that happens in chapter number 3, where she lets Nona know, after this guy Lee had been jailed for 2 years, that Lee was going to come back and live at the house. So the mother moves the man into the house who she knows had been raping her daughter, and essentially now becomes complicit in order to pay her bills. She needed help to pay the bills. And so she moves Lee into the house. Now, I'm thinking of how many options there were that we could have thought about in order to pay these bills. If Nona is school age, then we could take on another class in order to learn a skill, in order to be able to, actually have a little more money, maybe learn how to do something new, maybe learn accounting or learn to do hair on the side. But I don't know about you. Were you appalled when we learned that, oh my goodness, that the mama moved the rapist back in the house? And what did he do? He came back to that house and essentially, he was also, this is page 74. This man was legally prohibited from coming within 1,000 feet of any place frequented by children for the rest of his life. But even though he had that restraining order, 1,000 feet from children for the rest of his life, she moved him back in her house. So he, from that point on, was okay. And said for the next 4 years, from 7 to 11, I believe it was, this man was abusing her with the mother's knowledge. Oh, okay, with the mother's knowledge. I wanted to go off. Like, come on. I think she needs the baseball bat from, just unbelievable. And this is where it's very important when we talk about this thing of forgiveness. Because when we start thinking about that, right, these are the places where we harbor bitterness and anger for people who did these things to us. You don't have to tell me your business. You don't even have to put it in the comments. But some of us have been party and part of situations where people who were supposed to protect us were complicit in our abuse. Whether to keep a relationship, whether to keep a friendship. I remember watching on Oprah one time where 2 girls had been abused by a man who was a friend of the family. And when the children talked to their parents about it, the mother didn't do anything because she wanted to keep the friendship. She wanted to keep her friends. So she let it go. It wasn't until much later that she confronted them, because the girls pushed for it when they were adults, but she actually wanted to keep the relationship. And our parents sometimes have done some dumb stuff, point blank. But this is where the cleansing of forgiveness comes in, because you cannot move forward in your life if you are stuck in the past with that foolishness. That what they did was dumb, y'all. It was dumb. Like Antoine thought, you are dumb. You are really dumb, for real. You just got to get to a place where you forgive them. You own what they did was wrong, but you forgive them so you can move forward, so you can be released from that place. Okay, so because of that, this girl Nona is labeled as a problem child. She's going off in class. She's talking too much. She's, having some real issues in class. But what's interesting is that when she was tested, um, she actually tested as exceptional. She tested as a gifted child in school, not as one who was mentally retarded as they thought that she was, which was really interesting as well. I had some of those issues as well. We had a lot of chaos in my home. And growing up, I had some teachers who were routinely on me. I mean, they were just on me, but they never asked questions as to why I was disruptive, why my behavior was what it was. And now, as an adult, I'm like, man, if they just would have asked some questions, if they would have just done a little bit of investigation, they would have realized that I was really trying to manage a lot of things going on inside. And I think for those who work with children, I really pray that that you all have the bandwidth to investigate. If a child is being disrupted, yes, they on your nerves because you're trying to get through your class, you're trying to keep everybody quiet, you're trying to make sure that the structure is right. But by and large, if a child is just wilding out in class, there might be something going on at home. And I just pray that we are gifted and graceful with the bandwidth to be able to investigate. Same thing with adults. Some adults are just wilding out in our on our jobs, in church, and all this kind of stuff, just a mess. But it's because they have some things going on internally. And so we have to kind of be in a position to investigate so that we're not just writing off people. There's some people who have some real gifts, some real abilities and talents, the people who have been placed in our lives for a reason, people who we are meant to emancipate. But some of those people are going to get on our nerves. They're going to do things that make us uncomfortable. And so when we're looking at all of this, we realize that God is putting us in their lives in order to help to set them free. So we can't allow our being uncomfortable, our being annoyed to cause us to move away. I think that the enemy sometimes will cause that annoyance so that his work in that person's life is not disturbed, if that makes sense. So let me go ahead on. So we're looking here. Mom moves this guy back in the house. The guy is becoming even more brazen. He's smoking. She's smoking and drinking in the house with him. They're throwing these parties. He begins to give Nona alcohol during these parties, and it's interesting because it's affecting Nona's ability to perform in school. And so with all that stuff happening, thank God there was a space and a place where we're looking at hold on. When they're looking here, oh yeah, somebody was talking about Nona gaining weight. So she was eating here in middle school as a way of releasing her emotions. And her mom was actually talking about her weight. And so Nona, her self-esteem begins to break down because of that. And you'll see if you follow her story that she actually was having some weight issues into her 30s, in part because of these issues. So it was really interesting. The mother begins to offload her anger towards Nona, calling her out of her name, calling her promiscuous, and all of these things, because it turns out that the mother is experiencing isn't this crazy, some jealousy toward her child because her boyfriend is sleeping with her and her child. Oh, Lord Jesus. So with all of that being said, finally mother comes after Nona, and she's looking here, page 77. I'm actually going to read the quote. So when I was in the 4th grade, to the teachers and administrators at school, I was just another defiant kid who needed an attitude adjustment. But on the inside, I was dying. Mom and Lee were fighting in the living room one weekend afternoon when she asked me a question that I answered truthfully without the context of their argument. Apparently, my answer was the same as Lee's, making her wrong in whatever they were arguing about. With a look of wild rage in her eyes, she lunged at me and grabbed me around the neck, then threw me on the couch and started choking me. Remember whether she stopped choking me on her own or whether Lee stopped her, but I ran from the living room into my bedroom and locked the door, then hid inside my closet and closed the doors. Tears streamed down my face and pain burned in my throat. I was still gasping for air as I sat in the dark closet. I cried myself to sleep while sitting on top of a pile of dirty clothes and shoes. When I woke up and opened my closet doors, the house was silent and it was no longer light outside. I cautiously opened my bedroom door and listened but couldn't hear anyone. I slipped out of my bedroom into the dark house and silently walked out the side door to see whether Mom's car was gone, and it was. I walked back inside the house and looked around to see whether Lee was there, but he was gone too. I was home alone, so I made my way to where Mom kept the laundry supplies. I recently watched a talk show that featured parents whose children had died from unforeseen dangers inside their home. From a television that toppled off an unstable dresser and crushed a child to death to a container of bleach that poisoned and killed a toddler who drank it after open unsecured cap. I remembered the bleach story and tried to find the bottle Mom usually kept in the house, but the only thing in the supply closet was laundry detergent. So I poured a capful, forced it down, then went to my bedroom and lay down on the floor to die. When you're dying on the inside, physical death doesn't seem like such a bad alternative. Lord Jesus. So, you realize, okay, she wasn't going to kill herself with the laundry detergent, but she did experience some kind of poisoning. She's throwing up all night. And all of that happens, and the mother never checks on her. She says, serves you right for always eating up all of the food. Never checks on her, making her feel more inadequacy on the inside. And so it's just, it just gets sadder and sadder. So we're just not going. I mean, it's like the more I read that, it's like, oh my gosh. So you just kind of really realize that she is feeling this inadequacy because she realizes that she does not matter to her mom. Her mom is showing over and over again that she is not a priority here. And I think some of us have experienced that same thing. In one way or another, we've realized that we were not as much a priority to people that we loved as we should be. And so we find ourselves harming ourselves because we're not priority to them. And this is the thing. When we are kids, then that kind of stuff is really something that we don't have a whole lot of control of because we don't have this informed information around us to say, they might not think I matter, but I do matter. But as an adult, I want to say, as an adult, we have the power to determine that we matter irrespective of other people's perspective of us. And many of us are in situations where we are abusing ourselves because someone else has devalued us. I want to say it again. We are eating the way that we eat. We are dressing the way we dress. We are in the relationships that we are in. We are overworking ourselves. We're not resting ourselves. We're not doing things that we ought to do for ourselves. Not because we want to live that way, but because we don't have the value from someone else that we want to have. Like, have you ever been a part of a breakup? Or have you ever been a part of a time where you found like a person who you wanted to be a friend was talking about you, or a very important critical relationship went awry, a person decides that they don't want to be with you anymore for whatever reason, and you start to let yourself go because they rejected you. And somebody says here in the comments, Stacia says that's the enemy within. Absolutely. Where we begin to abuse ourselves. So it's like you are jumping yourself. I don't know if you've ever heard that term, but when we were kids, if there was what's supposed to be a one-on-one fight, but a group of children or a group of people decide to all fight one person at the same time, one individual person is being attacked by many people at the same time, that's called being jumped. And what happens is a lot of us jump ourselves. We have a person on the other side who's saying, you ugly, you fat, you dirty, I don't want to be with you, you're not going to be anything, you're not going to go anywhere, nothing good is going to happen for you. And then we join in with that other person and saying, yeah, I am fat, yeah, I am ugly, I'm not going to do anything, I might as well just eat this whole package of Oreos, all the freaking, I'm gonna go to Pizza Hut every day and have a pizza every day because they don't value me. We join in the attack of other people on us, and we gotta stop doing that. We gotta stop jumping ourselves. She is ready to kill herself because her mother does not value her. And that's a child. That's a child. We got to help our children in those, because that's why these bullying situations are so tough, because these kids jump in with the people who are the bullies and they say, well, I'm going to take myself out to help them. They don't understand that that's what's happening, but essentially I'm taking myself out to help this other person in their attack against me. And my God, I am not going to ever help somebody else to beat me down. I am not ever going to help somebody else to attack me, to take me down. That is the devil. That is the devil. Thank you, Margaret. That is the devil. We have to learn how not to allow ourselves to jump into the attack. They said that when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Lord will lift up a standard against them. The weapon that formed against us shall not prosper. But man, sometimes the weapon formed is ourselves. It's our own self-talk, our own negativity, our own way of putting ourselves in positions where we cannot win, of keeping ourselves up against the wall, of painting ourselves in a corner so we cannot succeed. And we got to stop doing that, y'all. We got to stop putting ourselves in that position. I'm sorry, I'm going a little slower than I thought. We might have a little more time with this book. So here it is. So on page 81, is very important here. She says that the meaning that we give to facts matter more than the facts themselves. I'll say it again. The meaning that we give to facts matter more than the fact themselves. What does that mean? If the meaning that we give to facts matters more than the fact themselves, it means how you tell the story is more important than what actually happened. How you rehearse the story in your mind is more important than what actually happened. So there have been times, some of you have funny friends like I have, and they will tell a story. Okay, a woman walks across the street. She tripped while she was walking across the street, almost fell, but she made it across the street. But this person can tell the story as though this woman was diving in and out of cars. She was just rolling over. She almost got hit. Ooh, you can hear the screech and all that kind of stuff. Because the way that they tell the story makes it more exaggerated than what actually happened. And let me tell you, we do the same thing in our lives. There are times where things happen to us, but the way that we tell the story is more exaggerated than what actually happened. Number one, the thing that happened one time or in one season of our lives, but here we are 10 years later and we're reliving that thing every day. Let me put my hand up. This is me. You in a relationship for 3 months, but you rehearsing what happened in that relationship for the next 5 years. Your memory and the trauma of that relationship outlasted the actual relationship. Right here, me. You still broken down and hurt because something that happened over a 3-month relationship. And many of us are in that position where we have retold situations, we have relived trauma, we have relived hurt so often in our lives that we have made it bigger than what it actually is. We have actually made a monster out of our own memories, and we are terrorizing ourselves with it. But what we perceive has become real in our minds, but it's not really real. And so this is the thing. She has this experience, right? She is raped by her mother's boyfriend for a large period during her childhood. She could relive those nights every night for the rest of her life and be a recluse in the corner, or she can go get some help, get a therapist, deal with it, pray, fast, and ask the Lord to release her from the stronghold of that, and she can begin to put one foot in front of the other and move forward. And this is the thing. Don't put the pressure on yourself to do that alone. Sometimes we need help. You need a Christian counselor. You need a therapist. You might need some medication in order to help you to get from point A to point B. But wherever you are, you do not have to stay there if you're being victimized by your thoughts and your memories. There are people who are trained and anointed to be able to set you free. If you need some help with that, you can inbox me or anything. You need some help, you feel trapped by your thoughts, you feel trapped by your past, you've been wanting to move forward and you can't move forward, inbox me. I would love to give you some resources of people who can help you through that. But you do not have to be a prisoner to your past. This is what happened. It did happen. I acknowledge that it happened, but by God's grace, I'm not there anymore. I'm moving forward in Jesus' name. You do not have to be a prisoner to your past. And listen, the things that happen in your past do not have to define you for the rest of your life. You know what I realized too? I used to tell my stories to everybody. When they would ask how I was doing, I would somehow find myself rehearsing those worst moments and telling people those worst moments. But I realized that not everybody even needs to hear those moments. That I can reframe it in such a way that when somebody asks me how you're doing, that I can say, you know what? I'm doing okay. They can ask what's behind that. You know, the Lord and I have been walking together, but you know, Jesus is all right. He's making all things well, and I trust him. Bam! You told the truth without having to go through all the long, details of all of this old stuff. I mean, I have people who I talk to today who every time I talk to them, I know I'm going to get the same stories. They have been trapped in the same place for the last 20 years. And every time I talk to them, they're going to say, I saw so-and-so today. I was looking on Facebook and I saw so-and-so come across. I wonder how that's going. I used to date them, Yeah, we was together. People thought we were going to get married, but we did. Oh my God, that was 20 years ago. You don't have to be there. Listen, the facts, the meaning that you give the facts of your past matter more than the facts themselves. And when you manage the facts for what they are and you divorce the emotion from them, Dr. Ann Chester talked about you being able to treat your past and the things that happened to you like luggage. There's carry-on luggage and then there's checked baggage. It all comes with you, but you can determine how much access you have to those things, where they are packaged in your life. There are some things that are lightweight, your phone, your purse, a little scarf or something, maybe a pillow, that you deal with, and you can find out, what it is that you need to find out and move forward from there. But think about it. I don't necessarily want all my toiletries and all my clothes, all 10 of my outfits with me on the plane. That's too much. And when you look at your past, when you look at your relationships, when you look at things like that, then you have to realize, right, that some of those things you need to check. You need to deal with it. You need to get somebody who is actually a trained counselor, somebody who is trained, who can interact with you from a professional level and help you to check those bags. There are things that have happened to me, traumas that have happened to me. I can access them when I need to access them. And when it's time to rest and put them away, then I can put them away. Sometimes it was difficult, so I asked a counselor to help me to check my bags. We went through those bags. I cried. I prayed. I cried. I said, sometimes it should have been me. I don't understand why the blah, blah, blah. But you could check those bags. You don't have to walk around with that forever. And there's a time where there's a appropriate grieving period. So don't hear me saying that you can't cry at all. You can't grieve at all. But let's not make that grieving that you're feeling something that is a 1-year process. Okay? Let's give ourselves a year or two to actively engage in healing from this trauma. Okay? We're getting a therapist. We're getting somebody to talk through it with us, and that therapist is going to help us to be better this time next year than we were today. Okay? It might not be totally gone. We know that it's going to be with us. but it's not going to necessarily have to be something that we talk about as soon as somebody asks us how we're doing. Not gonna be right there at the top. We're gonna check that baggage. One more thing, I realize that we're at time. I hope this is meaningful to you. Let me look in the comments what we say. Yes, Sharice says everybody ain't ready for your story. That's the truth. Ms. Marilyn Moore says, whom the sun sets free is free indeed. Yes, it is. Check your narrative. 3 short measly months and months of misery. Girl, I have been there all the way. And so this is a thing we have to learn to end. And I haven't asked Nona. I don't know, but I would find it hard to believe that she's able to recount what happened to her in the way she did and not have had, the interference or the interaction with a therapist. That just needs to be part of how you do your life. Everybody, okay? I learned something that was important for me for my own self-care. I share it with you that just like you have your annual physical, by God's grace, every 6 months or so you're going to get your teeth cleaned. You also need to maybe every year around your birthday have 4 visits with a therapist. 4 of them. If you have insurance, they'll help you with it, or you can use the year to save up for those 4 mental health visits. We have stressful times. We have stressful things. And sometimes we don't understand how stressed we are because we've learned to just push through it. But at minimum, you need to have somebody looking at your life with you, looking at your stress levels with you, looking at what you're processing well, what you can do better, at least 4 times during the year. Have a mental health physical as well, a mental health checkup so that you can do well. Okay, here we go. Here's the next one. You are not what happened to you. Some of us identify ourselves. Let me tell you again, you do not have to identify yourself by the most traumatic thing that happened to you. It's unnecessary. Everybody does not need your whole story. We can process our story in ways where those who are close to us and who are emotionally safe are the ones that we share our story with. Sometimes it can't be your parent. It can't be your siblings that you share your emotional turmoil with because they're not emotionally safe and able to handle your story. So if that needs to be a therapist, then you package your stuff and you share it with your therapist. They're paid to keep your secrets. But with that being said, you are not what happened to you. But in order for you not to identify right on the surface with the traumas that you've had, you have to get intervention. You have to have somebody who is helping you with your trauma. So we are, let's see where we are. We are, I think, I think this is chapter 3. So we're going to pick up with chapter 4 next week. And I want to ask you to do something for me. I want to ask you to look over your story, whatever it is. And I want you to tease out, number 1, what are some of the lies that you've been telling yourself, the narratives that you've been telling yourself, which are limiting you from living out your full potential, right? What are the lies that you've been telling yourself? Number 2, I want to ask, who is, and you can answer this for yourself, who is the person that you will allow to help you check your baggage? Maybe it is a trusted friend or a counselor. I believe it should be a counselor. But if you are not in that position and you have a trusted friend who is spiritually grounded and who can manage you talking to them on that level, then find someone who will help you check your baggage. We're going to try to check one bag this week. Maybe let's find a small bag. He stole my pencil in the 1st grade. Let's check that little bag right there. They stole my lunch in the 4th grade. Come on, let's check the bag. Somebody stole my pencil. They stole my lunch. They didn't invite me to be a cheerleader when I was in the 6th grade. Come on, let's check that bag. Let's deal with what the root issue was. We see that Nona's real root issue was really around identity and wanting to feel valuable. And she's going to deal with that for a long time moving forward around her physical appearance, around her being an achiever. And I want to ask you to look at that as well. What's that baggage that we're looking at for you? Who's going to help you check that baggage? And then what are the narratives you've been telling yourself? Oh my goodness. If you haven't read the book yet, this your time. See, I'm giving you all this time. We were already through the first 3 chapters, but we're going to speed through even more next week. We're going chapter 4. Let's just go through that whole first part the next week. And we're going to get through this. I want to also share with you, if you're trying to figure out what your purpose is and you're wanting to dive into that process with me on this Sunday. We are going into the 14-day purpose project, 2 weeks of preparation and positioning for purpose. You can go to bloomwithlola.com in order to sign up for that. And on next Thursday, we'll be back for Bloom Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, 7 p.m. Central. Want to make sure that you and your friends join us as we talk a little bit more about this book, Success from the Inside Out. Also, let us know in the comments what was meaningful for you. Make sure that you go to YouTube and subscribe. I'm really hoping to eclipse 500 viewers very soon. I love you. God bless you. You are not what you have been through. God has blessed you with his son, and that blood that Jesus shed covers us and allows us to walk free and walk clearly in his righteousness. The Bible says if any person is in Christ Jesus, they are a new creation. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things have become new. And you can be free and new in Christ Jesus tonight. So I love you, and I'll talk to you again on next Thursday during Bloom Thursdays. Have a wonderful night, everybody.